guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I had this excellent email that was sent from a subscriber. This is my guy. He is in his mid-30s. He's married, a father of 3, and he is a police officer. And he's writing in this definitely longer video to share some of his experiences dealing with domestic issues and things like that, as well as debunking a lot of things, a lot of myths about how things are supposed to be with regards to the law, domestic issues and all that, and goes into great detail explaining and warning guys about certain things if you ever find yourself in a situation, if you will, what to do and what not to do. And this is a real good one because I've covered a lot of stories, as many of you guys who've been watching me a while, especially on the other channels, about guys that have their girlfriend lose it, and she calls the cops and says he did a bunch of things, and the police show up, and the police behave in a certain way, and a guy behaves in a certain way, and it's a big giant mess. You guys have heard, some of you guys have heard those stories. He's really going to get in detail of what to do, what not to do, and I think it was a really great help. So I really appreciate him writing this in. So I encourage all you guys to sit down and listen to this, because you're going to get entertainment, but also some important pieces of information here. And any police officers out there, you can listen to, and you can back up in the comment section whether what he's saying here is accurate. Now, again, this is based on where he lives, because maybe, obviously, laws are different in different locations, different states, but regardless of where he lives, this is based on his experience and the laws of that area. So, without further ado, he says here, "Hey SSM, I've been following your channel for the last 2 years, and I've learned quite a lot. From nice guy behavior to how to truly handle yourself with women, not taking crap, and checking them when they start testing you. I never had any of this type of information or advice from anyone growing up. If I did, I definitely would have had an easier time navigating through school and life in general. Your advice has helped me manage my marriage, and I can send you that story in the future, being that it's still an ongoing situation, but it's getting better and better as time goes on. I think the community would like to hear it. Lots of smacks involved." Well, if you'd like to send it in, or when you're ready to send it in, definitely send it my way. I'm sure the guys like to hear your story, especially after what they hear you have to say today. That all being said, on to why I'm writing you. You can call me Tim, not my real name, of course. I'm a cop from a blue state, and I work in a very blue county. Being the avid viewer of your channel that I am, I could not help but pay very close attention when members of the community had interactions with the police. I specifically remember one of the community members who had been arrested strictly on the woman's say-so. Well, sadly, that's happened a lot in a lot of the stories I've covered. The officer had advised the poster that it was the department's policy to arrest the man, even though there was no actual evidence of any crime that was committed. That made my blood boil. That made a lot of blood boil. I've been an officer for quite a bit, and I have never heard of any department that had done something like that in a written policy. I've asked around my area about the situation specifically, and all the officers, sergeants, and some chiefs have told me that would be grounds for massive lawsuit, something to let that poster know if you're still in contact with him. Well, I remember that story, and let's be honest, there's stories similar to that, but I do remember what you're talking. I just can't remember the video name because I've done so many, but I know what you're talking about. A little background on me. I wanted to be a cop since I was 10 years old, and I got my bachelor's degree in law enforcement field in 2010. I currently work in a small town department, but I wouldn't trade it for anything larger. We have a close-knit team, and 2 of my best friends work with me. They pulled me out of a bad place a long time ago, and I could not thank them enough for that. These guys are definitely my bros. My one bro just went through a divorce with his cheating wife. I'll try to convince him to send in his story if you're both interested. I'm interested. We're always ready for a good story over here. So if your bro wants to do it, and he's familiar with the channel, which I assume he is, yeah, if he's ready, of course. No pressure. I've been a police officer for 12 years, and I currently work steady 12-hour midnight shifts. Midnight, huh? Nothing good happens after midnight, especially with domestic issues. 12-hour shifts are long and can be a pain in the ass, but the time off is great and allows me to spend a lot of time with my kids. I'm also a field training officer, FTO, which means I train newer officers how to do the job correctly. I haven't seen everything yet, but I've seen a lot of crazy crap. In this case, I've seen a lot of crazy domestic issues. Everything from basic arguing about bullshit to an attempted offing one directly in front of me. Long story there. Oh, police send that story too. Anyway, on to the matter at hand. I've heard you asking for law enforcement members of the community to reach out with any information that might be helpful. I wanted to give the best advice I can to any of the guys out there that find themselves in the worst case scenario when dealing with these crazy women. Even if this doesn't make it to video, please share this information with the community as a general plan on how to handle these situations. Sir, officer, when I saw your email come in this morning, when I was having my coffee, I knew this was a good one. I knew this was information that had to be shared. That's why I bumped it up. First, I have to explain what is called the Duluth model. Aha, I've heard of this. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but yes, I've heard of this. The definition is now listen to this. The definition is a community-based protocol for intimate partner violence, which aims to bring law enforcement, family law, and social work agencies together in a coordinated community response to work together to reduce violence against the gals and rehabilitate perpetrators of domestic you-know-what. Sounds pleasant until you've read between the lines. Well, that's usually how it works. The model is based off feminist theory that men use bad things with women within relationships to obtain power and control. That sounds like some feminist BS to me. Basically, this piece of crap model puts men as the bad guys and the women as the victims at all times. I'm not saying there aren't bad dudes out there that do bad shit, but guess what? There are a lot of gals out there that do a lot of crap too. We all know this. So no matter what, men are put behind the 8 ball in situations involving the police. Sadly, this is still taught in criminal justice classes and some police academies to this day, not directly but indirectly. Right here, guys, you're hearing it from the source. The use of language, imaging, and videos of men being the aggressor and the gals being the victim puts it into the heads of younger, aspiring police officers. That is usually the case. So when these younger officers arrive at any domestic situation, they immediately look at the man as the bad guy without a second thought. There you go. Right here. We've heard it plenty of times. Right here. These rookies that don't know what the fuck is going on here. And I might add, these younger officers no doubt have been raised in the environment that we're in right now. So it makes it even worse. Luckily, when I was being trained, I had a good FTO that taught me how to investigate matters like these properly, not jumping to conclusions. However, I experienced dealing with a young, naive officer firsthand when I started as a field training officer. I had one new guy who I had to back off of a domestic situation. He tried to get the husband to leave the house when his wife hit him in the face with a full can of Red Bull. Oh my God. A full can of Red Bull. And he's trying to get the guy to leave the house? And by the way, I want to point something out here. I'm sure some of you guys are already thinking this. Based on his description of the younger officers immediately thinking the cops are the bad guy, I mean, that the men are the bad guys, is there any wonder there's such a distrust, right, amongst many things, of the police? You can't blame a lot of the public. I have great respect for the police. When in my younger years, when I did dumbass things I'm not going to mention here, and the police were involved, from everything from doing dumbass things as a young guy to getting pulled over, I knew right then and there, it was yes sir and no sir. Yeah. And I have dealt with a couple cops when I was younger that were a-holes. But maybe they had reason to be a-holes since I was a little a-hole, let's be honest here. But the point is, right here what you just said, they're the younger cops, immediately the men are the bad guys. Now I hope good guys like you continue on teaching them that it's not always what they're taught or indirectly taught in the academies. Anyway, had to say that. So, the domestic situation, the guy was hit in the face with a can of Red Bull. The wife did not have a single mark on her, and she was yelling at him the entire time we were there, swearing, name-calling, and berating. We got a call from the neighbors about a fight between a husband and wife. Apparently, the issue started when the husband came home from work and had not cleaned up the house before he left. Oh, God forbid. That means he definitely deserves a Red Bull hit in his head. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, psycho. Apparently, the issue... I read that part. They got into an argument. She went into the kitchen, grabbed one of his Red Bull cans, and smashed it onto his eye. She hit the guy so hard, his eye swelled up to the size of a baseball, and it took a lot of convincing just to get him to sign complaints. Okay, maybe the guy's a slob. and she finally got mad at him about not cleaning up the house. That doesn't warrant her attacking him. But immediately you said your partner, the guy you were mentoring, thinks he's the bad guy, right? How fucking crazy is that? Newsflash to those that maybe are new to the channel, or maybe who've stumbled upon this or hate my guts and watch it anyway just to give me thumbs downs and give me shit. There are women out there that are fucking crazy, that are a-holes and do this stuff, and they should not be able to get away with it. Period. Mic drop. The only reason we had to do any convincing is because the new guy asked him what he did to deserve it. Smack to the new guy. This made the husband say he didn't want anything done and he would just leave the house for the night. Yeah, because the husband probably knows that he's screwed anyway. The new guy said that would probably be best for everyone. I told the new guy to wait outside and not to speak to anyone else in the scene. Good for you, sir. Myself and a backup officer took over and convinced the husband to sign complaints even though we could have signed on his behalf. That kind of thing goes over better with the judge in court. The husband was a big guy, about 6'2", 240 pounds, mostly muscle. That's a big giant dude, and yet this little lady, I'm sure she's little, boom, with a Red Bull. He went to the hospital for evaluation where he was diagnosed with a broken orbital bone, and his wife was charged with aggravated domestic battery. Well, good, she deserved it. After the arrest was finished, I told the new guy that if he ever pulled a dumbass stunt like that again, I'd have him recommended for termination. Awesome, officer. Good for you. I explained to him that we had a clear victim in the husband and that he basically ignored that to defend the wife for no reason. Thank God we need more guys like this, gentlemen. He flat out told me that he always thought the man was the aggressor in these situations. Smack to the dumbass young officer. He also told me that he didn't think a woman as small as the wife could hurt a guy his size like that. What a load of crap. I remember being told in the 6 years I was training in Krav Maga that we've had a lot of police officers and military guys come through there. And I remember one time one of the instructors said, upon asking a police officer, what would you rather deal with? A big guy that was a black belt, well-trained how to fight in a situation, having to, restrain him and all that? Or a tiny little woman who was just unpredictable like a cat who you dumped water on, kicking in every direction, scratching, biting, screaming, all that type of stuff. And they said they would rather deal with a giant muscular guy who's trained as a martial artist. At least he's predictable. But a little tiny gal, I have seen some shit, and I'm sure some of you guys, maybe some of you bouncers out there or police officers have seen when they go crazy. Now, we were trained in Krav Maga in a situation where our life depended on it to be as unpredictable as the crazy gal scratching and biting and screaming and kicking, but with skills. But yeah, a little girl, I've seen, by the way, in the years I was in martial arts, so I have seen some very fierce fighters that were women that were like 5'2". Because I think in their minds, I have to be crazy, I have to fight like my life depended on it. And there are some bad bitches in there that could fight, let me tell you. Anyway. The officer also commented on how hot she was. Smack! He's paying attention to her rack and how pretty she is instead of the whole scene here. The wife was wearing a small white t-shirt and panties at the time, and yes, she was a solid 9. I asked him, how far was your head buried up in her ass that you missed the dude's black eye? After that, he seemed to get the message, and he began to take things more seriously. I think he had a come-to-Jesus moment that time, and now he's doing much better. Well, great. Good for you, sir. And if he slips up, give him a smack for SSM. And give him a smack from every single dude watching this show. Now for the meat and potatoes of the email. The following is a general list of how to handle issues when the police arrive during a domestic situation. Okay, guys, listen up. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys will go to great lengths to avoid situations like this, but nevertheless, here's some good info from the police, a police officer, from the horse's mouth on how to handle a situation if this happens. He says, number 1, record, record, record. I can't say it enough. Before things start getting bad, you need to record the situation. Well, what if you're not allowed to record? But okay. Yes, some states have mutual consent laws. Others are single-party consent. However, nothing prevents you from protecting yourself in the moment. If you don't advise the other party they're being recorded, it's still okay. You may not be able to use it during the divorce or civil proceedings, but you can certainly definitely use it to keep yourself out of jail. Okay, record if a situation goes down that's ugly with your girl. Okay, or anybody for that matter. At least have signs up saying the entire premises is under surveillance. Use your phone, have cameras in any room that you can think of. Make sure you have good storage that will save any and all video for at least 90-day period. Even the dumbest, laziest cops out there cannot ignore you when you tell them you have video evidence that no crime took place. If nothing else, it'll probably make for less paperwork. Okay, so if a situation's going on and getting ugly, get that phone out recording. Or on your property, or if maybe it's your apartment that you're renting, have cameras up if you feel necessary, guys, because those recordings will help you. They might not, like, again, different states have different consent rules and all that, but it can help keep your ass out of jail. Number 2, keep as calm as you possibly can. Make sure that you are as calm as possible. It keeps you and the cops at ease and shows her for the crazy lunatic that she can be. As we all know, a lot of women will put on the waterworks, play the "I'm afraid of him" card, or flat out lie. Do not allow her to set off your emotions anyway, especially during any of the above scenarios. Well, that is easier said than done. Because, let's be honest, any of you guys have been in relationships a long time, even the good ones, your wife knows exactly what buttons to push to get you to react. You all fucking know this. And you women watching know damn well you know how to fucking do that. Right? And it's also pretty tough for a guy, anybody, if somebody's yelling at you, blowing up you, to remain calm. To not reciprocate when they're yelling and carrying on. It ain't easy. But you got to do it, especially if the police are there. Make her look like the lunatic. The second your temper flares up or you start getting over-emotional anyway, it immediately puts the suspicion on you. Wait for your turn to speak, and when that time comes, nothing helps more than a calm, stoic presence. Okay, right there from the police. In other words, keep calm, guys. Let her make a fool of herself. And in my opinion, in my experience, when it comes to the police, it's yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Number 3. Do not resist arrest. Well, you can't blame innocent guys out there that want to resist arrest, but I get it. He says, if you're being placed into handcuffs, simply ask why you're being detained or arrested. I get that, but then then all it takes is one pissed off cop to say, don't question me, smack, you know. Make sure the officer gives you a straight answer, specifically an answer that you can take to your attorney. Do not fight, pull away, or push against the officer. You can be charged with resisting, and that cements your arrest. In other words, when the police charge you with resisting, it justifies the arrest. It's an uphill battle in court, and your soon-to-be ex will definitely use it against you in the divorce. I know this seems like common sense, but when emotions are high, common sense is very low. Keep your common sense and stay out of jail. Okay. Well, I once heard somebody say common sense is not that common. And, you know, guys, the older I get, the more I'm seeing that being pretty true. Number 4. This is important. Keep the attitude at a minimum. Back to the yes, sir, no, sir with the police. Remember, the officer that shows up at your place is not your enemy. Well, some may beg to differ. No offense, officer, but, you know, but I hear you. He/she is there basically because they're responding to a call for service. In the police academy, we're taught that domestic calls are some of the most dangerous calls we respond to. That's because of the heightened emotions. This is true. Domestics can escalate very quickly, and most officers will be on their guard going into the situation. Do not make smart comments or mouth off to the officer in the situation. I couldn't agree more. Yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, the law says you can do that, but in a domestic situation, it's best to keep the cops there on your side. This includes dealing with female officers and white nice guys officers looking to bang your soon-to-be ex. As much as you want to say something, and you will, do not give in to those feelings. Again, keep the cops on your side. Stick to the facts, cooperate as much as possible, and keep your head. It will reflect when the officer writes a report. You're darn right. And again, it's very hard when the emotions are high and you haven't done anything and you're being painted as the bad guy not to lose your crap. Number 5, request a supervisor report number. Most of the time, a supervisor will be on the way or already at the scene. This depends on the size of the department and personnel available at the time. If you're dealing with a female feminist officer, oh, God forbid, or a blue-pilled white knight male officer, equally God forbid, and they're specifically focusing on you without focusing on the woman or talking to each other, request to speak directly with the supervisor. Tell the officer or officers you don't believe you're being treated fairly because they seem solely focused on you and not the situation at hand. Okay, I'm taking note of all this, and the guys are taking note of all this. But again, a lot of guys are thinking, what if they tell me pretty much in police terms to fuck off? Or don't mouth off to me? Or you give me attitude, son? You know, but we're taking this in. Advise that you will speak with the supervisor and only the supervisor when he or she arrives. That might not be too popular with the other police officers. After the supervisor arrives, explain the situation and that you don't want to be arrested based solely on your ex's word. Explain that you've been both going through a rough time and that you just want to be treated fairly during the entire process. Most good supervisors will understand this and will hear you out. Before the cops leave, always request a report number. You can typically pick up a copy of the report within 7 to 10 days time period, and you'll definitely want to review it and give a copy to that report to your attorney. Okay, there you go. Number 6, request names and badge numbers. If things go wrong, whether there is an arrest or not, request all names and badge numbers from any and all officers on the scene. Once you have this information, file a complaint with the police department against the officers. Body cameras are everywhere these days, and video can be stored from 90 days to 2 years at a time, depending on the severity of the situation that occurred. Do not fight in the street, fight in court and win. Okay. Well, here's something I've always wondered, and I'm sure a lot of guys have to wonder this too. When the body cams are on, where is that data stored? Is it stored in a little tiny fucking chip or storage unit, whatever you want to fucking call it, on the camera? Or is that stored someplace else in the station or somewhere else? Because I wonder this, and other guys do. What happens if the police officer is a dirty cop? I mean, really? And that he doesn't want that stuff seen. And he has other friends that could make things disappear. I mean, I gotta ask. You know, believe me, I'm for the police, but I have to ask these questions here. Number 7, be specific in your story. When explaining the situation to officers, be very specific in what has led up to these events. Give the officer details about the ex, her lying, cheating, stealing, etc. Explain about the open marriage proposed or that you caught her in bed with another dude. Explain that she was taking money from your joint bank account, smack, and giving it to her lover. Give dates, times, any and all specifics that will help. Recordings come into play here. If the cops are smart, they'll be taking notes and will end up on the report. This will help you in the divorce proceeding. Being that there is now an official record of the cheating, infidelity, and a date and time, this can also be tracked by public record. So other family members and friends can look it up. This is a very good way to help control the narrative in your favor. Well, this is good. Okay, all are important, but this is really about the whole evidence thing. Number 8, you do not have to leave. Aha, here we go. Sometimes cops will try to get parties to separate at the very least for the night. Usually this is a good idea. However, some cops will attempt to get the man to leave. Shocker. That is one general law where police cannot make someone leave their own home. Some officers may threaten you with arrest as a scare tactic. Do not fall for it. Well, easier said than done. No guy wants to spend the night in fucking jail, potentially getting his butt graped or something like that, or beat up or whatever. You know, and the whole process there. So a lot may just figure, you know what, this officer looks pissed off. I don't want to piss him off, so fine. But yes, I'm taking note of this. This is why you do not put her on the lease or have her move in with you. In some states, residency can be established in as little as 2 to 3 months, and you would have to legally evict her. That can take up to 1 to 2 years through the courts. You cannot be trespassed from your own home, and there's no evidence of any crime you committed. You have no reason to leave. Okay, it's your house, you shouldn't have to leave. and especially if she's not on the fucking lease, or it's your house and your girlfriend's staying there and she obviously is not on the deed. Politely tell the police officer that you currently live in your home and that you're not required by law to leave. If the officer persists, just rinse and repeat name and badge number, file a complaint in the morning. Gentlemen, you do not have to leave your own home. He says, that is all I have for now. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'll answer them as best I can. Keep in mind, all the things I've discussed here are for a general situation. Anything specific will have to be looked up by state or by your local department. Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. Certain laws, rules, policies, whatever, could be different from one state. What could fly in Florida may not fly in Massachusetts, and vice versa. I hope that this information helps the community and keeps all you good guys safe while going through a rough time. I've seen too many good guys lose their livelihood, their dignity, or even off themselves because they didn't know how to handle themselves in these types of situations. I want to see the good men in the situation get out with their heads held high and succeed in all aspects of life. I never want to see good men fall victim to some over-emotional harpy simply because she wants revenge. Well, officer, I appreciate you writing this in, as do the guys here. As a message to any aspiring police officers who watch your channel, I have some words of advice. Okay, listen up, young fellas. When going into any situation, analyze what you're walking into first. Talk to everyone involved and go from there. This does not include exigent circumstances. Take your time, investigate the matter, and come to the proper conclusion. Men are not always the bad guys, and women aren't always the innocent little victims. From my experience, about 70% of the calls I've been on involving couples, the girlfriend/wife calls to scare the husband-boyfriend. 70%? She just does it to scare him? Holy crap. Sometimes a girlfriend/wife will flat out lie to get the husband or boyfriend arrested. To use my own version of a Mr. Miyagi saying, the badge in your chest is not a substitute for your eyes, your ears, and your brain. Thank you for all you do, SSM, and please keep the videos coming. You can count on that, sir. They're entertaining, informative, and educational. I plan on showing my sons and my daughter your videos when they get a little older. 2 5-year-olds and a newborn right now. Maybe we can get your female subscriber count up to 5%. Keep up the good work, sir. God bless. Well, God bless you for writing this in and helping us out a bit. And don't take it personally when I was, upon your different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different scenarios, I had some questions there, or devil's advocate about situations. You can't blame me. But regardless, this is great. I really appreciate you writing and taking the time, because this will help some guys. This is a lot of guys say that my videos should be required for all young guys. This video, most certainly, and I'm going to try as best I can to advertise this video and having a catchy title and stuff like that to rope as many guys in as possible to watch this fucking video. But this is great. And I'm glad I've been able to help you out in your marriage and all that. And congratulations on your 2 boys and your daughter here. And yes, when they're old enough, I don't think I have any 5-year-old kindergarten viewers of SSM, but maybe your boys can be the first. Who knows? Although I don't want your boys saying the F word in preschool or kindergarten. That could not go too well. But obviously, you're going to help raise them in the right way, and that's great. So, great email. I really enjoyed this. It's very helpful, and this will hopefully help some guys out there. So, and by the way, if you want to follow up with some responses to some of the things I said, or any questions or comments, because you're going to get a lot of comments, I'm sure you can expect that, by all means, and I'll definitely bump it up and cover it in a part 2 or update scenario here. And if you want to share about your own marriage whenever you're ready, no problem. I'll definitely cover it, as well as your buddy who went through a bad divorce because of cheating. That it could really be helpfoul and therapeutic to him, knowing that there's a lot of guys out there that have been in his situation and that have his back. The more you guys send these stories in, I found a lot of guys, they write in, they say it's therapy, just writing it and getting it down on paper, because nobody else they can talk to. But here they feel better getting it out, hearing some people's opinions on this, and knowing they're not alone. Because guys, trust me, you're not alone. You got brothers all over the world watching and listening every day that got your back. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.